Hello and welcome back to the shop. My name is Steven, if you don't already know, and this is a continuation from a video a couple of weeks ago. Last week I missed a video because I've had a lot going on. Work stuff got crazy. I ended up working in the office. I had a couple of teammates up, one from out of state and one from downstate, and I don't get to see them that often other than on Zoom. And honestly, I kind of miss the guys. They're pretty great. So had some cool conversations with my boss, or my tech lead, and my manager. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. First of all, before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit about what I've done in your absence, and by your absence, I mean my absence. This is the forge stand. If you couldn't already tell, you can see these crossbars here. You can't see this one here on this camera, but I could, there you go. And so you can see that I put these in, and they are crooked. They're not level. Well, they might be level, but level in my shop might be wrong. Nope, that one's not quite level. That one's way off level because I don't know how to measure apparently. But that doesn't matter because this thing is rigid. This thing is so good, so strong. I went through and flipped all the bolts from the tabletop around so that they are the rounded side out. The same goes for all of these. So the next step on this project is going to be these feet. Now I've made a master foot. You can't really see it on this camera, but maybe on the other one you can see. I've got this master foot that I've created that is just a piece of the angle steel that I used for the legs that I have trimmed down on one side, and I've left full length on the other, punched a couple of holes in, and then I also punched some holes in the tabletop or the table leg itself so that this will actually pair up and I can put a bolt in there and it sits just above where I need it to. Where this is going to be tricky is if I want this to be completely level, like perfectly level. It's not going to be. Then I need to go through and measure these out individually as I go, but that's hard to do. The alternative is I cut some slots in the feet, which is a possibility, but I'm not there yet. I think what I'm going to do, because the ground outside is not overly level, what I'll probably just end up doing is putting the feet on so that it doesn't fall into the earth where it's going to be sitting, and calling it good there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need to be just right. It just needs to keep the thing from sinking into the ground. So I've made this master foot. My hope is that I'll be able to cut out the other three, and then I'll be able to drill the holes separately. These, I'm going to be using different bolts for these. They're the same 304 stainless steel that I've been using for the rest of the stand. However, they're going to be a different diameter because these are not going to be anywhere near the heat, really. They don't need to be as durable. They don't need to be as tough, and they're going through relatively thin material here. I mean, we're talking about, I think, 3/16 of an inch at the most. So this is going, well, sorry, 3/16 times 2, which is going to be, 6/16, which is what? That'd be 3/8. Yeah, 3/8. My math is not quick, especially with fractions. So anyway, I want to go through and make these feet up, and I've been doing it pretty straightforwardly, honestly, pretty much the same as I've been doing the rest of this. If I have time to do this, I'm going to knock these feet out, hopefully, knock them off their feet, and then I'm going to set this table down and we're going to begin refractory in this video. That is my hope. It is a Sunday morning, or not Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and we'll see how far I can get with it. I'm hoping I can get the first dose of refractory in because the weather is supposed to actually be decent over the next few days. You'll notice probably as well that my shop is a mess. That is not atypical. After I get the first round of refractory done, I'll probably spend some time in cleaning up my shop. I want to make sure I'm still recording too, because a little while back I had a recording malfunction, if you remember, where my microphone, which I wear on my lapel here, was not recording properly. Looks like we're good so far. And I had to do the entire beginning of the intro, or the entire beginning of the video on my Canon Rebel, which the audio is okay, but it's certainly not ideal. It picks up a lot more stuff than the lapel mic does. So that being said, I'm going to take this blank foot. I'm actually going to clear this forge table off of my workbench because I don't need it up here at the moment. And I'm going to set this over off to the side so I can actually show you what I'm doing with my top-down camera. And honestly, this doesn't need to be here for this portion. All right, so I've got my master foot here, and the master foot is really nothing super special. Find our center here. There we go. It's just a piece of this angular steel that I've gone through and I've cut little bits off of, right? So you should be able to see that all right. All I'm gonna do, bring that into focus, move a water jug, grab my paint pen, right? I'm gonna leave a little bit of a margin of error. My cuts are not perfectly square, unfortunately. That's just kind of the way things go with me. But again, I'm not doing anything super precision here. I'm not a machinist, I don't pretend to be, and I likely never will be. I mean, I'm still pretty young. I still have a lot of years left in my life, God willing. And so I'm not gonna fret if I'm not a machinist. I've come to grips with the fact that I have a tendency to want to be everything and anything all of the time. A little nod to Bo Burnham. But I've always been that way, even before I was really any kind of internet person. And by that I mean somebody that goes on the internet. I've always been one of those people that tries to be the jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. 1, 2, 3 feet we should have there. And you can kind of see where that came from. But I've always tried to be a little bit of everything, anything and everything all of the time. And the problem with doing that is you can't be everything that you want to be all of the time. It's just not possible. So I'm focused on what I'm going to have fun with. And if I have fun being a machinist later on in life, cool. All right, so next step, cut these out. So I'm going to grab my ear protection, put that on real quick, and we're gonna cut this. The important thing is, it's not super warm out today, but it is rather muggy, so I gotta stay hydrated. Nondescript bottle. I thought about too, what I would do, or what I could do, is polish all the parts for this, but it's just gonna get grungy and rusty and everything later, so I'm not too worried about that. I've got all of these now. What I wanna do is I want to fit them up and trim them down. I can, obviously, just go through with my marker, put a little white line on them. I'm going to do it from the master foot, so I have the least margin, or the smallest margin of error possible. There we go. So now I just need to go through, cut those down. As of the recording of this video, I have like 5 days until my 28th birthday. I'm really excited for that. Birthdays are, I mean, birthdays can be fun. I don't typically celebrate them that much though. This one, I mean, it's only 28. It's not like it's some massive birthday. It's not like I'm turning 30 yet. It's not like I'm turning 50 or anything like that, but it's a good time to reflect. What has happened this year? And some crazy stuff has happened with my work life. Maybe I'll go through a little bit of a conversation with you on that. It's been a wild ride. I do need to cut more pieces though, so maybe I'll talk about that while I'm actually fitting them up with drilling the holes and everything. So I will be right back as I go through and I trim these pieces down. Yeah, 1 minute. The feet that do allow you to be on the console but do not recognize you as a master. This is the only master foot in the crowd. So, next step. It's gonna be drilling holes in all of them. Now I've kind of played around with a couple of ideas here. But I think the best idea that I've got is going to be putting these one on top of the other, just like this, taking my marker, or my paint pen, if you will, and transferring a couple of dots. So, we'll go like that, and like that. I'll give us the first one. The next one we're gonna go just like that. Hold it relatively flush if we can. Get a couple of dots there. And these are subject to a decent margin of error. That's all right, because what we're going to do is we're going to center punch them. Now, why is center punching important? Center punching is important because if we don't, our drill bit, if this is our drill bit will touch the metal like this, and then it will actually glide across. As the drill bit spins, it can drift. That's called drift. So this will be spinning around, around and around and around, and then it'll just kind of wander off because this has a little bit of a tooth on the end of it, but not much of one. So it's very easy for it to get off track. So what we want to do is we want to put just the smallest little hole in it. This is where I tell you, loud noise incoming. And again. And that will actually give us a couple of small divots for that tooth on the end of our drill bit to grab onto so it won't drift around. No, these do not need to be deep either. But what I'll be doing now is I'll be taking these, I'll be clamping them up in the vise, and then I will drill to them. I'll probably clamp them all in the vise at once and call it good there. The drill bits that I'm using are these. These are carbide drill bit tips, or drill bits. This is a step drill. It has a step between each of the points where the size increments. We do have an actual legend inside as well. I don't know if the camera will focus on it, but yeah, there you go. You can see measurements half, 15-30 seconds, all the way down to, I think it's an eighth, but it's worn off by now. So anyway, this is a step drill bit. It allows you to make exact drills with a chamfered top, actually, which is this little gradient. It's not just a hard step. It is a little bit of a slant there. This, I can't remember what the actual formal name of this kind of drill bit is. Machinists, let me know in the comments below. But this drill bit is what I do my pilot drills with. I go through and cut with these, and then I finish and chamfer with these. Chamfering is useful to help you have no burrs. It also allows you to do a lot as far as guiding the bolt into the mount point, which is helpful. The next step in that is going to be fitting those pieces here. I can actually show you with this one, with the master foot. So I have these bolts. These are M4 12s, I believe, if you're interested in that kind of knowledge. That defines the thread and the length. So I just take my foot, put it right through that hole there, making sure that I'm washering on both sides. Now, do these need to actually be washered? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But we're going to do it anyway, just for the sake of posterity and properness. That is the wrong size wrench for this. I believe this is the correct one. If I don't round off my Allen key, that would be real nice. I think I just did though. Crap. Oh well. My heart will go on. So talking about my work stuff. I've been at the company that I work at for 2.5 years. Makes up for a solid chunk. Hard rock. It makes up for a solid chunk of my overall career. Of 9 years, actually. Okay. 9 years is quite the chunk of time to dedicate to something. And I have spent 9 years building up my skill set as a software engineer. It's been fun. Like, I don't work in a glamorous industry, for what it's worth. I'm not in robotics, I'm not in embedded anymore. I'm not in anything that most people would consider overly flashy, or most people wouldn't consider fun. But the problems are real, the problems are challenging, and there's a lot of work to be done in it. That being said, over the last couple of years, I have not had a promotion. I've been a software engineer for a long time, going on 7 years, and I haven't made a move up because I've bounced around jobs, which I totally understand that, totally respect it. I'm not arguing that viability. What I am arguing though is that I have worked my butt off at the company that I'm at, and I've had one really bad manager and a couple that have been so busy that they couldn't focus on anything but what they were doing at the time, which is not a great excuse, but I understand. So I've been told that I was going to get a promotion, and then never received said promotion at all. They've talked about it with me a few times. Didn't make it into the budget was off schedule, they didn't do this, business didn't do that. Bunch of excuses, really. And I decided that I'd had it. And I actually started entertaining some conversations of other work on websites like LinkedIn and so on and so forth. But I had a talk fairly recently, with my manager and then new manager, and that situation seems to be getting resolved relatively soon, hopefully. Now, I'll be starting the new exercises towards getting a promotion. I'm not getting a promotion right away, which I didn't expect, but I'm actually getting concrete steps to move forward in my career. Hopefully within the next 6 months, but I'm not holding my breath. I made the mistake of doing that a couple of times, and it has really, it's really ended up hurting me quite a bit in my personal life and in my career. So I don't tend to do that anymore. I've bent over backwards for a long time, waiting for people to serve my interest after their own. And I still, to a degree, believe that that's a correct way to go, but I don't think it is the only way to go. And people are proving that that is absolutely the best measure that I could take, is to take matters into my own hands and start talking to people about how displeased with the process I am. because it is frustrating to pour your heart and soul into work and to have nothing to show for it. So I'm going to try not to do that in the future. You know, it's a hard thing to break old habits, because my habits have been show grace, show love, show that you are working, you're trying your best, and that when the time comes, nobody can take it from you. But that's not true. There are a lot of people that can take it from you. There are a lot of people that can take the glory that you've fought so long and hard for away. And actually, it's not uncommon for people to do that. Don't get me wrong. I love the job. What I love about the job is the people I work with. They are a ragtag set of people working their butts off to do the right thing. And that's the kind of stuff I can get behind. We work hard, we play hard, we enjoy life together. I'll have to go through and tighten these down, but that's the idea. That one's not quite as pretty as this one was, because I think I kind of rushed through it, but I can fix it up. I can take it off and I can polish it out a bit. On to the next two. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm working on these two next. I'm marking these so I know which ends they actually go on, or which feet they actually go on. Now, we've got a little bit of a radius in the actual corner of this angle seal, so I'm going to try to take that into account. It's actually kind of nice to be working with this lower than me. I'm so used to having it up at my my belly button level for the face of it. Uh-oh. That one that didn't have the radius to it, or the proper radius to it, the bolt fell out. So I'll have to fix that up. But anyway, it's nice and all to be able to have a conversation with people about your career direction, but always remember that it's your career direction. You got to make it happen. The other bugger of a thing is that this foot here might actually be frozen in place backwards from what I was thinking, which is not atypical for me. I'm going to be working on a lot of the deeper core logic. I have the attention of my tech lead. If you're not in the software world, a tech lead is not a manager. They're a level above senior developer. Tech lead usually is the one that has, it's kind of like the next step from standard developer into, like, they're like an architect, but at a closer to code level, because architects don't write a ton of code that is meant for production. It's typically code meant for prototyping. That prototyping work is still incredibly important, but it is it's more investigative or investigative to make sure that the team is going to move in the right direction. A senior dev is somebody that houses a decent amount of domain knowledge being knowledge about the actual code that is pre-existing. All right, let's see if we know. Do we know which this is? We do, okay. So the senior dev takes that knowledge and shares kind of like the best way to go about things from an actual coding standpoint. Tech leads and senior devs are pretty close in what they do, but the senior or the tech lead helps design it, and the senior dev actually knows how to implement the majority of it. Whereas an architect designs things in more of a, this is how it should work. Ooh, we're off on this one. Seriously? Wow. Are we off on the other one? Oh, that one's pretty close. Oops. So the architect tends to take the problems presented by the business and they say, okay, well, this is how we would expect them to work in our code base, knowing what's out there. They kind of whittle it down, like, we could do it this way, we could do it that way, we could do it this way, we could do it that way. And then the senior dev says, well, I know how to do it this way, and the architect says, yeah, that fits within, or no, we can't do it that way. The architect develops things that are known as problem statements. They go through and just say, I identify that I need this functionality to serve this purpose so that we can enable this functionality for this customer or this user base. Such as, think about it this way, on your computer, I need a start menu, or I need a menu that is accessible from the home location so that a user can navigate to whatever applications they want. That would be a start menu, or I think in Apple it's just called the launcher, or Launchpad or something like that. I'm not an Apple guy, sorry to say, for all of you Apple people out there. But that's kind of what the architect does. They give those statements over to the programmers. And then the programmers, the senior developers, the tech leads, the like, they work together to solve that problem. The tech lead kind of grooms things and says that this is probably going to be in this location in code. We should take a look at this, or take a look at implementing the change here. And the senior says, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I recommend that we do it this way. Enablement work, so things that need to be done to enable the developers to do their jobs best. So the senior dev will go through and implement any major architecture or major alterations to the code to make sure that the feature can be done properly by the standard software engineers. So there's a whole line of what happens in my industry if you were curious. If you weren't, you probably just skipped over that section of the video, and that's fine too. I think we got our feet on there. Time for the moment of truth. Haha! It is unlevel. Could be my floor, but I'm guessing it's probably the table because this has been solid before. We're actually not that far off. We're not far off at all. So hey, there's the forge stand. Now yeah, it does wobble, but we can play around with that. I think we can probably adjust that a little bit as necessary. I can create a shim for one of the feet as well if need be. But I'm pretty happy with this overall, actually. Nice. So, next thing on the docket, it's going to be refractory in this thing. A spider has decided that this is its home. That's about par for the course. Oh well. Refractory. Next on the list. but probably not in this video, unfortunately. I've been recording for quite a while, and there's some stuff I can trim out, but we're at about an hour of recording, so I think it's time to call it for this video. So, that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. It's nice to be able to call the forge stand complete. There are some other things that I can do, that I might do, to make it a little bit more heat resistant, like, say, putting some angle steel in front of the bolts so that they are less likely to melt. I might do that. I might not. I'm not really sure yet. This is a great place to be, though, with this forge stand. I am super stoked about it. I'm super stoked about it actually being where I want it to be. Is it a little unstable? Yes, but she's my kind of unstable. That's okay. If you like the video, please go ahead and throw me a like. It tells me that you do enjoy the content and that you want to see more of the Shop Talk series. I'm having a blast making it, and I'm sorry that I've delayed as much as I have on actually putting refractory in the forge itself. The weather just hasn't been fantastic. It was down to 47 last night again, which is insane because it's June 19th. It's June 19th, people. Come on. If you have suggestions for me on what you'd like to see next, if you have curiosities about the rest of the shop, if you're curious about my tools, or what I have in store for actually forging, go ahead and throw that in the comments down below. Anything, everything, all of the time. Go ahead and throw whatever you want to in the comments, and I'll see if I can respond to it with some sort of intelligible response. If this is your first time here, or if you're newer here and you haven't already, you should hit the subscribe button because I do upload most of the time on Wednesdays. Usually I'm weekly. Last week was a little bit of an oddity, I apologize. But I make this content pretty frequently. So if you're interested, go ahead and throw that down there. Make sure that red subscribe button is gray instead. And if you want to see the notifications, YouTube's algorithm does pretty well with showing you the notifications when you hit the bell icon and go to the all option on the bell icon. That makes it so that you see the notifications when it goes live. So again, thanks so much. And until next time, have a good one.